Hello guys, I'm back with more Spacemacs ABC, and it's been a while since last time I put up a video that was not an ABC video, um, and I've also been really busy with other things, and actually I'm still busy with other things, but I guess I can squeeze in another video here, um, just a brief one actually. So last time we finished with L and P. And I think we skipped N, so we'll start there um, today, and N comes after L, so N, and N stands for narrowing and numbers. Numbers. So space N plus. So you'll notice plus and equals are bound to the same function, which is inc at point, and minus is bound to decrease at point, and these both launch a microstate, I think. So if I try it here um, at this font size, I do space n equals for plus, and that puts me in a microstate, which is now called a transient state, by the way, if you're on the develop branch, where you can increase the number or decrease it without having to go back to space n. So you can just keep pressing plus or equals for increase or minus for decrease, like this. This is basically the Spacemacs equivalent of the Control A and Control X bindings in Vim, which are not included in Evil by default because Control X is a very important key binding in Emacs. Um, so basically, this is what you should be using instead. Plus, plus or equals or minus increase or decrease number at point. Um, yeah, so in case you weren't aware, the reason why equals works the same as plus is so that you don't have to use the shift key to access the plus functionality, right? Because minus is just a straight key, doesn't require any shift, so it's good to have the same with plus. That is true anyway for QWERTY keyboards, for US English QWERTY keyboards at any case. Maybe different for others. So just keep that in mind. Let's see what else we have here. Space and comma or dot scrolls up or down. It also enters a scrolling state. And I think the angle brackets are also bound here. Yeah. So comma and dot, they scroll by full pages, and the angle brackets scroll by half pages. Wait, what? That function definition is void. That's not very good. We have a bug here. So, okay, so at least comma and dot work. Let me do like this. Comma and dot, they scroll by. Let's write it like this maybe. Comma and dot scroll by full pages, and angle brackets scroll by half pages. At least in the ideal world, where there are no bugs, they do that. And this is also a microstate. And by the way, you can do this in basic Evil by using the same key bindings as in Vim. Control F and Control B scroll by full pages, and Control U and Control D scroll by half pages. So anyway, just because this is bugged out doesn't mean you can't scroll by half pages. Okay, space in. What have we not been looking at here? Yeah, so now we come to narrowing. Narrowing is a handy feature in Emacs to sort of artificially restrict the buffer to a certain region. So there's a lot of functions that act on a buffer, um, right? A full buffer. So if you want to restrict them to a region, you can either find some other function that acts on the region instead, or you can restrict the buffer. And the way you do that is by narrowing. And you can, for example, select a region and then you space n r for narrow to region, and then your buffer suddenly looks like this. And every single function in Emacs, or at least the vast majority of them that work on the full buffer, will honor um, your narrowing like this. So this is pretty much like the hammer in your toolbox for region functionality, right? This is the thing that you break out last when nothing else works, but it's really powerful sometimes. You can do space NW to widen back to your full buffer. And you can also do stuff like space NF to narrow to a function. So now I have narrowed to my init function. And space NP narrow to page. I think that only works if you have page breaks. So if I do something like, if I add a page break here, and I add a page break there, a page break, by the way, is a Control L character, and then I do space NP, you have typed space NP invoking disabled command narrow to page. It is disabled because new users often find it confusing. Do I want to use it anyway? Yes. Sure. Yes. Okay. And it didn't restrict exactly the region where I had expected it to do. So I guess you're right that new users find it confusing. Probably should have actually read what it said in detail. But that's boring, you know. These videos wouldn't be half as fun if I didn't mess up sometimes. But anyway, probably narrow to region and narrow to defun are simply the most obvious ones that you want to use. And actually, I almost never need to do narrowing in my day-to-day editing anyway. But it's handy to know that they're there um, if the day comes when that happens. It's also useful for yourself when you're programming to restrict your attention to just the function that you're working on. If it happens to be a long function or the file is really large and you accidentally scroll off and stuff like this. So in these cases, narrowing can be useful. So F narrow to function, R narrow to region, and W widen, and P confuse user, narrow to page. Did I get? I didn't get any customize here for my choice to enable this command in future editing session. I expected it to make sort of like a customized entry here, but whatever. Let's not worry about that. So that actually brings us to the end of space N. Today might be quite quick. So that after space N comes P. We'll skip O because that's user specific. P, which we did last time, and then Q. So the bindings under space Q are mostly for quitting Emacs. And if you're a new user who have switched from Vim, you're probably doing like I did initially. You spend your day typing colon W, colon W, Q, A, exclamation point perhaps, etc. Um, and I find the space bindings are actually a lot better for this. Space FS to save, space Q whatever to quit, and so on. So my recommendation is to try to wean yourself off of the X commands when you can, and hopefully some of the bindings under space Q will help you with this. So let's see what we have there. Space Q. By the way, some changes have been made here in the development branch, so if you're on master, you might find it slightly different. Also, there are some functions that I've written myself here, which you will not find in base Emacs. Yeah, sorry, base Spacemacs yet. So you might want to pilfer those from my configuration if you are interested. Anyway, um, the biggest ones here are space QQ and space Q capital Q. And the difference between those in the development branch, I believe, this is a very recent change, but space Q small q restarts and it saves all the open buffers. And after restarting, it reopens all those buffers. It actually uses the layouts layer to do this, I think, which means it will not work if the layouts layer isn't enabled. But it is enabled by default, so hopefully that should work transparently for you if you try it. Quit and reopen. Wait, sorry. I'm confusing myself here. Um, yeah, I'm talking about the R bindings. Sorry. Okay. So space Q small r, quit and restart, reopen buffers. Yeah, restart Emacs, resume layouts, and space Q capital R is just restart Emacs and don't resume layouts. Quit and restart. I find these bindings are really useful for when I've changed some parts of my config and I just need to restart. Um, I've I've become increasingly disillusioned with the space FER binding, which we have here, synchronized dot file. I keep finding that this binding is sort of less and less powerful, and that I frequently just want to restart the whole Emacs. So I tend to do space QR a lot. And then we come to the functions that I was actually trying to talk about. Space Q Q. It it quits Emacs. It will prompt you whether to save the buffers that you've changed, and space Q capital Q is just kill Emacs immediately, no questions asked. So small q is kind of save quit, ask about changes, and the capital one is unsave quit, don't ask. Okay, so what else do we have here? Space QD and capital D. These are also some new bindings. Space QD will restart Emacs using debug init. So if you are experiencing problems and you want to debug and you want backtraces, maybe you've come to us for help and we've asked you for one. This could be a useful function. Under space Q capital D, it will allegedly it will ask you for a list of packages, and then it will restart restart Emacs without Spacemacs, but with those packages installed, only the ones that you asked for. And this is useful if you want to test some packages in isolation without the rest of the Spacemacs environment. because some package maintainers, I won't mention their names really, but you know who you are. They are really reluctant to provide support for Spacemacs users because the environment is so heavily modified that really anything could be happening, and it's kind of hard to track bugs down. And of course, they are entirely perfectly reasonable response, really. But that makes it very useful for us as a function to just sort of be able to test packages in isolation. So these are really sort of developer centric bindings, I think. Um, but they could, of course, be useful. So D restart Emacs with debug init. Capital D restart Emacs with only selected packages. Okay. Space Q. Actually, I won't try this now because restarting Emacs takes time. Um, S save buffers and kill Emacs. Pretty obvious what that means. Space Q Z, that kills just a frame. So if you have several frames open um, on the same Emacs server, Space QQ will actually kill all of them. And you will be, don't worry, you will be asked whether to kill the other frames that are attached to the same session. But if you do answer yes, it will actually kill all of them. So Space QZ uh, is a handy function for just killing a single window. Unfortunately, um, if you use it for the last window, it won't kill the server, it will leave it open. And that's why I've written myself a function that I use a lot for quitting, which is this one, which checks whether there are more than one window attached to the server. If there are, it just kills the frame, and if there are not, like if there's only one window, it kills the whole window and the server. So essentially, this is like a do what I mean kind of function. I've bound this to space QW because W is a handy key to hit just after Q, and this is probably something that I will want to put in Spacemacs. Actually, I should have pull requested this a long time ago. Um, and uh, and I find it really handy as sort of the key I always use to quit stuff. So maybe we should put this on space QQ. Um, but in any case, in the meantime, um, there it is. And I have another function here that I've bound on space QF, which I use much more rarely, which saves the file and kills the buffer, and then calls the space QW um, binding. And I use this basically for when I have an Emacs client popping up for a single file that I'm just editing quickly. Like I can launch it from the browser, for example, to just edit text in a text box. Then I want to just save it, kill the buffer, and then kill the window immediately in one fell swoop. So that's why I have this binding here. So if you want, you can of course steal those and put it in your own config. And by time, I'm sure some of this will end up in Spacemacs as well. Okay, that brings us to the end of Space Q. I think there wasn't anything I missed here, was there? We're really making good time today. R, registers, rings, and resume. Also very, very sort of slim menu here. So R, registers, ring, resume. Sort of miscellaneous stuff. So what do we have here? Space R, E. E will show registers. I think this is the same as what you get if you do the registers X command. Yeah. So it just shows you the contents of all the evil registers. And these are the ones that you can paste to, or sorry, yank to, by doing things like quotation mark asterisk. Sorry, let's do quotation mark um, T Y. Wait, did I do that? Quotation mark T Y. I think I did. I think I did T, but it doesn't show here. I guess it only shows like commands and not just any key. Okay. Anyway, I did quotation mark TY. So if I now do registers, this should show up in the T register, and here you are. It doesn't show. I mean, it doesn't show the actual line breaks here, but anyway, there it is, and it also ended up in a few other registers. And Evil uses various registers for different kinds, but all the pretty much all of the lowercase letter registers are open for you to use, and then you can paste from that specific register by doing something like quotation mark TP. Um, and if you use this feature a lot, it's easy to lose track of what is in each register, and that's where this registers function comes into play. So show evil registers. By the way, this is also where Evil stores its macros. So you can review those as well. Let's see what else we have here. Space RL. So this Helm resume basically resumes the previous Helm session. So if you, I find this very handy if I am doing project-wide search and I need to sort of go through all of these. I can go to this one and do some whatever it is I need to do, and then I do space RL, and it brings me right back where I was, and then I can go Control J, go down to the next one, do whatever I need to do there, and so on. Of course, this doesn't really scale up into infinity. Eventually, you want to do something like global search and replace on all these, which is actually a really cool feature, but it's probably something that I might have to show in a different video. But anyway, if you want to do stuff like this, Helm resume is one way to do it. There are some other ways to do it as well, like Helm follow, but yeah, it's probably out of scope for this video. Resume last Helm session. We can do a video about Helm later. Space R M Helm all mark rings. Now what is this? Pre-configured Helm for Helm source global mark ring and Helm source mark ring. Okay, so these are all the marks. Okay, so yeah, so these are all the marks basically. So if I make a mark here on Avi go to char 2, I'd say M H for a mark H, and then I do space RM, then I have a mark there, and if I then go here, I jump a little bit around, maybe I go to a different file, come back, and then I still have the mark here, yeah. And I can jump to it with back tick M. Wait, what did I call it? I remember, I don't remember what the actual mark was that I don't remember the name I gave it, but anyway, I think that's what this function does. It shows you all the lines where you've placed marks. So if you use marks a lot, that is probably another function that might be handy to you. Show all marks by line. Space R Helm register. So is this just like space RE just with Helm? It actually, yeah, it says register T. Um, but it's bound in Helm ring, so it's not like it's not evil specific. Helm source register. Uh, candidate Helm registered candidates. Collecting registered candidates in register A lists. Therefore, register A list of elements, name, contents, one for each Emacs register. Okay, so this is actually an Emacs function that just happens to look a lot like an evil function, or like a Vim function, which evil has been leveraging, I guess. So I guess Helm and Evil, they both provide an interface to the basic Emacs registers functionality, which is pretty cool. So registers with Helm, and let me rewrite this, show registers with Evil, to try to sort of emphasize that these are basically the same feature. Space R S, resume last search buffer. So this is, yeah, it's a Spacemacs function, and it's supposed to just open the last Helm AG or grep buffer that you've been using. And I think it doesn't work with Helm session, so you actually have to open the buffer to do it. Is that right? So if I search for lol, I'm not that funny. ERC. If I search for ERC and now I quit it and then I do space RS, it does actually open the Helm session as well. So if I open like Helm MX, which is not a search buffer, and then I do space RS, it does bring me back to the Helm AG. And if I do Helm MX now and I do space RL to resume the last Helm session, oh, I actually do get Helm AG and not Helm MX. Can I LFD? And if I now do space RL, yeah, I still get the Helm AG. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what the precise rules are for what is a search buffer and what is not, and why a space RL doesn't resume the Helm MX session. But I was under the impression that space RL would resume any Helm session, and space RS would just resume the last search session. But I could be mistaken about that, which is fine. I've been mistaken before. Resume last search. Okay. Space R Y. This is one of my favorite bindings. So as you keep copying text and killing text, it just gets pushed further back into a data structure that's called a kill ring. And if you want to paste, it'll basically just paste whatever you killed last, and you can't paste anything that's further back in your kill ring. Um, and the way you do that is just by going to the kill ring, using space RY, navigating to whatever piece of text you are actually after, and then you can paste that one. So if I want to paste reopen, there you go. I don't remember exactly where I killed that, but by the way, another way you can do this is using the paste microstate. So if you paste transient state, it's what it's called now. So you can enable this by setting the variable dot spacemacs enable paste transient state to true. And what happens then if you press paste, you end up in pasting transient state, and then you can it'll show you, it'll paste one thing, and then you can just sort of cycle through the kill ring by using Control J and Control K, and then it'll just sort of paste different things like this. And this is a really handy function, I think. And This together with Helm Killring, the space RY binding, they really are quite powerful, and I find myself I don't ever need to do things like evil registers or Helm registers or whatever. Um, yeah, so Helm Killring. Okay, 3 letters already. Capital R. Oh, this one. Okay. Uh, Not sure how useful this will be, really. Definitely not sure how useful this will be to go through. Ah, I can't type today. You know what? You know what? Let me skip the PC RE bindings for now, and I can come back to them later because I don't fancy doing those now. Um, and if you're wondering what they are, the PCRE stands for Perl Compatible Regular Expressions. So they are implementations of regular expressions that are compatible with the Perl kind, which is, by the way, somewhat different from the Emacs kind. Um, and presumably these are bindings for searching through your buffer, searching through the project or whatever. Um, Convert syntax. Okay, I don't think they do searching actually. They just convert regular expressions. So this could be quite useful potentially, but I think I will do that later in a different video. Space small s. So here's quite a few bindings. I think we'll finish with these today and call it a night. Um, because some of these are really quite useful. Space S backtick Helm AG pop stack. So basically, if you go somewhere with Helm AG, it pops or it pushes the current position onto a stack of positions, and you can jump back using space S backtick. Now I happen to prefer. So let me try to demonstrate. If I just search for something and BBC. Wait. Yeah, if I want to go here, for example, I can jump back with Control O and forward Control I. So this invokes the evil jumper package, which is now, by the way, merged into evil, so it's just evil. Um, but this works with more than just Helm AG jumping, so I really just prefer to use that. But if you wanna, I guess it's possible for you to just use Helm AG's built-in mark functionality there. So Helm AG pop stack. Like this. And then space S. I'll do the AG grep ac pt ones at the end, by the way. So Helm buffers smart to search and Helm buffers smart to search. Yeah, with default input. So these search in all your open buffers, I think. So if if I put myself on set queue and I do space SB, um, it will not fill in the search pattern, and I can type something like set queue, and it will search through all the buffers that I have open for the phrase set queue. Whereas if I do space S capital B, it fills in the search pattern with the phrase under my cursor. And that's actually a new binding for me, which I didn't know about, which is quite powerful, I think, because I find myself wanting this kind of often. So search through all open buffers. Probably it filters out useless buffers in some manner, but default input. But I don't know exactly how it does that. Space S C. So if you do use search in evil by the with the forward slash function. So if I do forward slash and I search evo define key, it will highlight all matches, and they will persist if you go about doing other things. So you can type text, and these highlights will persist. And um, the way to clean them out is to use space sc to clear the highlights. So space sc clear evil search highlights. I wonder if there's a variable for this. Evil search highlight, evil x search persistent highlight. Yeah, so I think you can turn this off by default by changing the value of this variable. But anyway, if you don't, you can easily clear it with this key binding. Anyway, let's see here. Space SE. That's iEdit. So this is here we come to multiple cursors, and multiple cursors is a very popular feature, which unfortunately has been sort of difficult to get right um, in Evil. The classical package for multiple cursors in Emacs unfortunately is very deeply incompatible with Evil, and a lot of smart people have tried to make it work, and they've pretty much failed more or less. So I don't think that's happening. There is a new implementation now called Evil MC, which is included in Spacemacs, but it doesn't have any bindings yet. So you can use that if you wish. But really, the basic implementation for multiple cursors in Emacs or in Spacemacs that we use currently is iEdit, and the way to use it is to sort of, for example, I'm not gonna show you everything you can do here, but if I, for example, highlight my Git here and I do space SE, I end up in a red state, which is evil iEdit state, and it highlights for me all the occurrences of my Git, and of which there are, well, at least 6 here. Let me see what bindings I have, because I forget this. So in iEdit state, you can do stuff like you can do pound sign to check the number of occurrences. Let me see here. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's at least 8 then. Undo, okay. Okay, so this actually inserts it into the buffer. So you can use this as a sort of add a number thing. You can do n or small n, I think, to loop through the occurrences. So let me just see the previous. Yeah, so I have a one magit here, one magit here, and so on, so on. And then I can probably, I think I can use tab to toggle. Yeah, so if I don't want the two occurrences previously in the file, I can tab to turn this one off. I can tab to turn this one off. And if I now do pound sign, you'll see there's only these 6. Okay, so let me see, I'm happy with that. And then I can just edit, right? I can say magit hello or whatever. And let's say I want to, okay, and that actually brings me out of iEdit state. So, okay, so I don't use multiple cursors that much, and when I do it, I usually try to use Evil MC, which I think is slightly more powerful and probably what we'll end up using in the future. So I'm not very familiar with the iEdit bindings, but there's a lot of cool things you can do, and it probably covers 90% of multiple cursors use cases anyway. So yeah, I would just recommend you to look up the documentation on iEdit, um, in Spacemacs, and see what you can do. Play around with it, pretty much. Um, yeah, evil iEdit state space s f helm files. It says search and open buffers. What's the difference? What is the difference? Spacemacs Helm Buffers Smart Research. Spacemacs Helm File Smart Research. I wonder if somebody forgot to change the doc string here after copy pasting. Um, Spacemacs Helm do Helm search files. What was it called? Was it this one? Helm Files Smart Research. Yeah, so this is the one. So Helm files do ag search in files. Helm do ag directory. Okay, so it searches. Okay, so it queries for a directory. Is that it? Oh no, it queries for a file, and then it searches in that file. Okay. So whereas can I choose more than one file? Yeah, I can choose more than one file. Can I choose a directory? Yes, it seems like it. Okay, so it queries for a path, and then it searches in that path, or in that list of files, or in that single file, as if you had just used space / to search in a project. Um, so that's great. I didn't know about that, but probably we should change the doc string here, because this, as far as I can tell, is wrong. So search through arbitrary path, and I think if I do space as capital F, it does what exactly? Yeah, it does. It does fill in the search pattern, but it only does so after you've chosen the file, of course. Search through arbitrary path, defaults, inputs. Yep. Okay. Space as H symbol highlight. This is this is a bug. That's what it is. Try to find that out later. Try to find that out later. Now I don't get it. Okay. Whatever. So the symbol highlight transit state is also another feature that I don't really use a lot. You can enter it through space sh, but you can also enter it by typing asterisk on a single symbol. And then it highlights all the occurrences of that symbol, and I think I... Oh, wait, yeah, I think I hit space DH instead here. Yeah, that was what caused the error, so I'll have to figure out why Helm dash at point doesn't work, but that is really beyond the scope of this video. So space sh at least. Yeah, it highlights all the occurrences of that symbol. It does that wherever you enter it with asterisks or with spaces H, and then you can go N, capital N or P to loop through the different occurrences of that symbol. D, next to previous definition. I guess it doesn't find a definition. What if I do this one? Or let's do this one. Yeah, then it just finds the definition and not just the occurrence. That's pretty cool. R, restart. Doesn't seem to do anything. I'm just not sure what to look for. R, change range. Beginning of defend whole buffer, display area, beginning of defend whole buffer. Okay, that's pretty cool. And you can use E to enter iEdit. It's / to search through the project for this symbol. B or F to search through buffers or files, and I'm sure that buffers or files work in pretty much the same way as we've seen space SB or space SF work. And by the way, unless you haven't seen the new transient states, red keys are those that keep you in the transient state, and blue keys are the ones that exit the transient state when you hit them. So that's pretty cool. It's sort of self-documenting in a way. So yeah, this is another feature that I don't really use that much, but I guess it's handy, and I should learn to use it. For now, we will leave it behind. Symbol highlight transient state. And by the way, the asterisk is of course a feature from Vim, which has been well, not sure I would use the phrase improved, but certainly enhanced by this highlight transient state. I'm sure some people would disagree that it's been improved, but it sure does look a lot better to me. But like I said, I don't use it very much. Space S, capital H. Go to last search AH symbol. So if I do, yeah, so it just basically brings you back to the last. It's like a symbol highlight transient state resume, similar to Helm resume. Resume last AHS transient state. Space S J. This is one of the coolest bindings in Spacemacs, in my opinion. You should use this a lot. It shows you basically the contents of the whole buffer as a list of functions, as a list of definitions, or whatever. It doesn't look very cool in Lisp because it's just a list of functions. But if you open a more complicated file like this one here, you get a list of classes and their members, functions, and yeah, just a whole bunch of really cool stuff here. And this uses a tool called iMenu or a tool called Semantic. And Semantic is always preferable, so if you want to use this feature, you should go ahead and enable the semantic layer. This will improve the Space SJ feature in some modes, particularly modes like C, C++, or any other C-like language. Anyway, comes highly recommended for me. So that's Helm Semantic / iMenu. There's another. It has another backend in org mode, by the way. So it does something slightly different there. Space S. Where am I now? L. Resume last search buffer. Is that any different from space RS? space SL. Spacemacs to resume last search buffer. Spacemacs to resume last search buffer. Okay, so it's basically precisely the same thing. That was space SL, right? Yeah, same as space RS. Just to make it extra confusing, space SP smart search. What is this? Spacemacs Helm Project Smart to Search. So that's that's exactly the same as forward slash, which I talked about before, and capital P is the same as space space asterisk. It looks like, yeah. Um, so if you remember what those two from the first video, then all the power to you. If you don't, then it's basically just project search with or without the default search pattern taken from the symbol under point. And by project, I mean whatever projectile has decided to use, which again brings us back to the video where we talked about projects. So, yeah, not going to spend time on that. Space SS, that's Helm Swoop. So this is another really cool feature. So what Helm Swoop does is basically it opens sort of this view of your buffer, and if you type stuff, it will highlight just the lines that contain the search phrase that you typed. So let me do init. I apparently have only 5 lines in this file with the text init in them. It shows me each of those lines and the line numbers. It shows me. It also highlights where in the line the phrase init occurs, and I can scroll through them with Ctrl J and Ctrl K, like I can in any Helm buffer really. But it also updates the main buffer by showing me the context around that line. And I can do enter to just go there immediately, or I can do just Ctrl G to quit, and then it'll bring me back to the line I was in before. So I use this a lot as a replacement for just standard searching with forward slash using evil. I think Helm Swoop is more convenient, especially if I don't know immediately where I'm going. Um, on the other hand, in some modes, Helm Swoop can be slow, so don't abandon your standard evil search functionality just yet. Um, Helm Swoop is kind of cool though, and space as capital S is the same, except it pre-populates the search pattern with whatever is under your cursor, as we've seen about 100 times in this video already. Default input. Okay, space SW. Helm Google suggest. Really? Why? Oh, so okay, so this really just gets suggestions from Google. Why is Kanye broke? Why is Space Max so awesome? Okay. Apparently nobody has been searching for that. It's must be clear then to everybody why SpaceMax is awesome. I can only assume that's why. Um, W web was that G? Um, Google suggestions, and was that W again for Wikipedia suggestions, I think. Space SWW Emacs. So if I Emacs versus V, did it open anything in Wikipedia? I don't know. I don't have a browser open here, so whatever. Probably did something. Space S, Control S, Helm multi-swoop also. I think this is Helm swoop in all buffers. So be careful with this because this might be slow. Init. Yeah, so it shows matches in all open buffers. Very colorful, as you can see. Um, and also very useful together with space B and space capital B. Um, yeah, but this is still live updates as you type. So yeah, okay. So you have a lot of different searching opportunities here. Um, yeah. So let me see. Yes, Helm, Swoop, all buffers. Okay, so that brings me to the end, except for these uh, ag, grep, ac, and pt. So if you've seen in your dot file, you have a .spacemacs variable here, which is called search tools, and it has a list of search tools, and the ones that are supported by Spacemacs is ag, the silver searcher, pt, which is the platinum searcher, which is an implementation of ag in Go, I think, which makes it a little bit easier to install on other platforms like Windows. And there's ac and grep. And basically the one that's listed first in this list is going to be the one that is preferred by the top level bindings like space / space asterisk by space F space B space capital B and those things. However, you can invoke specific search tools by doing space S and then A for ag, G for grep, K for ac, or T for pt. And then if I then do space SA, then I get all these bindings for ag. I can use A to search through this file. So let me actually A. Let me check this here to make sure I get it right. A, G, K, or T. Search with specific tool, and I think the bindings in each of these groups should be pretty consistent. So I'm going to do the ag ones because the ag is my favorite tool. So ag this file searches through this file, obviously. And okay, so it seems I have to type. I have to type a pattern first, and then it shows me all the lines where that pattern occurs, and then I can further narrow that using Helm. So search in this file. That's a sort of really funky way for it to work, but I'd expected something a little bit simpler than that, but okay. Space SA, capital A, do region or symbol. Okay, so if I then do a region, space S, a capital A. Oh, then it searches for that region. Is that it? Yeah, it takes that region as a pattern. Okay. Search in this file, use region as pattern. Space SAB, that's pretty much the same as what I had here. Space SB and capital B. BB, same as space SB capital B. If you set that as your favorite searching tool, if you haven't, then you can use this to invoke search in buffers with a specific searching tool. Um, I think I said I wanted slashes instead of commas. Okay. Um, space S A F and F, same thing. Except with specific tool. And then P and capital P is the same as or forward slash or asterisk, except with specific tool. So let me now look at space S G. Okay, so the bindings I had under space under A are now under G, and if I look under space SK, I guess they will be on K. No, they don't have equivalents. But under PG they also don't have equivalents. Okay. Not sure if this is intended or not, or if there's a good reason for it, but at least all of these tools have the B, capital B, F, capital P bindings. Some of them have these other bindings as well. Um, like I said, I'm not exactly sure why, but anyway, uh, anyway, the most important ones are there for all the tools anyway, I think. So it shouldn't be that of big of a deal. Uh, and if you're wondering which tool you should be using, basically AG or PT are the best ones, in my opinion. They have the fewest surprises and they have the best performance. AG probably easier to use on Linux, and PT might be easier to use on Windows. But don't take my word for that. Don't take my word for anything on Windows, really. But at least I found that AG is pretty simple to use on Linux. Unfortunately, it's not as standard as grep, so you have to install it separately instead of coming with the system. But anyway, I think it's well worth it to install AG. Yeah, so that brings me, I think, to the end of this video. We've done a lot today. N, Q, R, and S. Next time I'll dive into the regular expressions, and we might be able to finish probably in one or two more videos. Looking forward to that so that I can do some other videos about other things. Until then, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.